Holy Family Catholic Church, where today we're celebrating the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time. The 23rd Sunday, how many Sundays are there in Ordinary Time? 33. So after today, there are only 10 more Sundays of Ordinary Time left. But do you notice something different about the church today? All of the summer colors, the bright flowers are gone and are replaced with autumn colors. Last weekend, Labor Day weekend, we celebrated the unofficial end of summer, which for us as a church is a time to transition from summer ordinary time now to fall ordinary time. So you'll notice that in the colors, you'll notice that in the darker green velvet vestments we're wearing. These are a little heavy, but also how it is that as a church we're beginning to prepare for the fall celebrations of the church. As a civil society, soon we'll be entering into the Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas cycle. How far away is Christmas now? We have 10 more Sundays of Ordinary Time, plus the Feast of Christ the King. 4 Sundays of Advent after that. It means that we are 15 Sundays away from Christmas. For those who are counting, 15 more Sundays till Christmas. How's that for crazy? So we take a look at today's scriptures and see what it is that we might learn in today's first reading. Where does today's first reading come from? Today's first reading comes from the book of the prophet Ezekiel. We're going to find Ezekiel in the Old Testament or the New Testament? Old Testament. Outside the Easter season, the first reading always comes from the Old Testament, or what we often prefer to call the Hebrew Scriptures. Why would we call them the Hebrew Scriptures? What language were they written in? Hebrew. The Hebrew Scriptures were written in Hebrew. Why do we not call it the Old Testament so much? Because for our Jewish siblings, for all of our friends who are Jewish, it's a way of respecting that as their scriptures rather than calling them old. The Hebrew Scriptures. Ezekiel is one of 3 major prophets. We know in the Bible that there are several prophets, some 16 or 17 prophets who have books, depending on how you count. Most of them are minor prophets, but 3 of them have longer books, so we refer to them as the major prophets. The major prophets have longer books in the Bible. Who are the 3 major prophets in the Bible? That would be Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. One more time, who are the 3 major prophets? Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. So Ezekiel is one of the major prophets, and we don't hear often from Ezekiel. Of the 3 major prophets, we hear from Ezekiel the least. Shall we take a look at the words of the prophet Ezekiel in today's first reading? Before we do, imagine what it would be like to live thousands of years ago, before we had locks on our homes, or before we were able to protect ourselves and our families like we are today. Back then, we were afraid to sleep because others might come in and do something to us while we were asleep. So one of us had to stay awake all night long. Follow me? After we started to build fortified cities to protect ourselves from others, we needed someone up on the wall all night long, just looking for dangers and alerting us. If there were any dangers, it was their job to wake us up. That person could not sleep. It's within that context that Ezekiel writes today's first reading. Thus says the Lord, I have appointed you a sentinel for the house of Israel. What is a sentinel? A watch person. The person who's staying awake at night looking for dangers. When you hear me say anything, you shall warn them for me. So the watch person, the sentinel, is the one who needs to warn others to the dangers.
Should we stop it and restart it?
If the sentinel says something to those who are doing or saying something wrong, and isn't it true that we can all think in our lives of loved ones, family members, friends, co-workers, classmates who say and do the darndest things? It's our job to say something when we see something. If you see something, say something. And so in today's first reading, Ezekiel tells us how it is that if we warn those who are doing bad, then it's on them. But if we don't warn them, then it's on us. Because we're supposed to be like